Hi everyone! Today I will show you how you can create, customize and administrate services in NICE EnginFrame. As you know, with NICE EnginFrame, you can manage interactive remote desktop sessions and your high-performance computing environment and orchestrate the job submissions. In this video tutorial, we will check out how you can create and customize the services, which will make the job submission procedure for the users super easy. And the good news here is that neither you nor the users have to reinvent the wheel, because you can fall back on ready-to-use templates for the service creation, and you can customize everything such that it integrates perfectly with the scripts you might already have in place. So we will start with the creation of a remote desktop service and then check out the HPC application service creation. Okay, let's get going. So when we enter the EnginFrame intro page, then we can see, besides the technology showcase, the different portals. We will now start with the views portal, from where we can manage our interactive desktop sessions. In the beginning, we are in the users portal, and here on the left-hand side in the menu, we can see under monitor, sessions and host. Here we can see all the sessions that we have created and the different hosts information. As we can see here right now, we don't have any sessions running, and also we don't have any possibility to start a session. This means at first we have to create a service for starting interactive desktop sessions. And for that, we will now switch to the admins portal. Here in the admins portal, in the left-hand menu, we have the monitor section and the manage section. Under monitor, we can see all sessions which are created by all users. Then we also can check out the status of our computing resources under hosts, and we can also see all jobs which were submitted by all users. Under Manage, we now have the possibility to create interactive services. We can also manage users and their permissions, and we can also change the appearance of EnginFrame. So for example, uploading a company logo, which will appear over here, or change the color theme of EnginFrame. Okay, now we will check out the creation of an interactive remote desktop service. And that is actually super easy, because you just have to click on New, and then you can create a new service from a template. And for these templates, you can select either Linux desktop or a Windows desktop. We will now go with a Linux desktop, so we just hit Create. And then now we are in the template section, and here we can basically right now leave all the default settings as it is. And just in case that you have specific requirements for your interactive session, then you can go to Launch Session and check out this action script, where you are provided with a lot of different sample options, which you can go through in detail and apply when you need them. Also here in the session properties, we can see that for the visualization technology for this remote desktop session, NICE DCV is used. But we can leave all these default settings as they are, and now just go to Save and Close. And now we have created our interactive service for a remote Linux desktop. In order to make this usable for all the users, we also have to publish the service, because right now we are still in edit mode, meaning we can still click on the service, make changes and save it again. But in order to make it accessible for all these users, we have to publish the service. For that, we go to Publish. And after it is published, we can see that here now appears this green bar, and also we can no longer select the service and edit it. This also means that if you want to edit or change a service which you have created and published earlier, then at first you need to unpublish the service in order to make changes. Okay, so now we can go back to the users portal. And now we can see on here in the menu that we got a new section named Services. And here we can now see the service we just created. So when we click now on this Linux desktop service, then a new interactive remote desktop session is started for us. So let's check it out if everything worked out well. And here now we can see our interactive remote desktop session to which we can connect via NICE DCV. Okay, so now we want to check out the HPC application service creation. So for that, we go back to the EnginFrame intro page and now go to the HPC applications portal. Here again, we start with the user's view. So our menu on the left-hand side starts with the data section where we can see the spoolers, so all the connected data for our job runs. We can also see the files which are located in our remote home directory. Under the monitor section, we can see all of our sessions. So also here now we can see the Linux desktop session, which we just have started. Also, we can see all the jobs we have run all together, and also we can check out the status of our hosts. Under services here, right now, we can see 3 different services. And now we will check out how we can create another HPC application service. But before we go into the creation of our own service, we will first check out how these already existent services look like. So let's check out our OpenFOAM service. So here we can see different text input fields where we can enter, for example, our job names. We have lists from which we can make selections, and also we have file selection possibilities here. Then we can also select from a possible number of processors. We can select a cluster and a queue, and then finally submit this OpenFOAM job. And now we will check out how we can create something similar for our own application. For that, at first we have to switch to the admins portal. And now here again, we have the monitor section and we have the manage section. And under the manage section, now here we have the services. And here we can also see that there are different kinds of services. So for example, the services which are marked with this gear icon, these show services which are accessible for the user and which the user can execute and use for the job submission. Then we also have services which are marked with this icon, and these are so-called file action services. So these are files which can be applied to a specific type of files. So for example, for an OpenFOAM results file, the user can directly call the ParaView postprocessor. And then we also have so-called embeddable services, which are marked with this icon. So these are services which themselves can be called from another service. In today's video tutorial, we will check out the service creation for submitting compute jobs and also for the so-called file action services. Let's start with the compute service. So we will now create a service for StarCCM Plus CFD jobs. All we need to have in place up front is a StarCCM installation and the path to the executable. Okay, now let's go to New and Create from Template. And here we can see that we already have lots of different templates in place which we can use out of the box. And these ones can really be blueprints for our own applications. So now we will select ANSYS CFX, as this is also a CFD application. So it's a comparable application and should have most of these options that we also would like to have already in place. Okay, now let's hit create. And now we can see here the GUI for the service creation itself. So let me just make this a bit smaller because now we can see all the different menu options which we have here. So for example, when we click on the demo tour, then we can get a description of the different parts of the service creation menu and explanations to these. Also really important is this button test run, because after you have edited and created your service, then you can test if everything works fine by hitting test run. You can see that we have different fields for entering text and information. Then we have so-called groups for grouping different fields together. And every time that you mark an input field or a specific region, you can see the properties of this respective input field here on the right-hand side. Also here on the right hand side, you can see the different parts which you can add to this kind of interface. So here under basic, we can see that we can have some text fields. Then we can also include different kinds of lists, and we can have file upload services included. Okay, so now we will start and customizing all these input fields now to our star CCM job. So at first we will just change the title to star CCM plus. And also change this info text field. And as I mentioned earlier, as soon as you want to see the result of your changes and the edit procedure, then you always have the possibility to click on test run. Okay, so now we can see that at first we have to save, and after saving, then we can do the test run. And now here we can see already that we have our service for star CCM, and here we can see the text which we just entered into the text input field. Okay, now here's a group which is named launch parameters. So for the job name, here we can see the properties of our text input field. And besides the label, which is called job name here, really important is also this so-called ID, because this ID is then the name of a local environment variable which is assigned and which you can also use later on in your job submission script. Okay, so everything what we now enter into this text field will be assigned to an environment variable which is named job name. So the label, we can leave this, but the default value now here, this one we will change to star CCM. Okay, then we also have the project name. And for example, now just to check out the different possibilities and to see how easy it is actually to customize these templates and these services to really fit your needs. So now we can just remove this input field and now maybe instead drag a list. So we can just now drag this radio button list here. And when we click on this, then we can see again here on the right hand side the properties of our radio button list. So the ID, so the name of the environment variable is radio_1, so we can just leave this. And for the label, now we can change the label to project. And now we can give different labels and values. So for example, if you have different projects in your company, then you, for example, can assign different labels and values. And you can also make a pre-selection. So we can now make a pre-selection and select the turbine project. Now I will also show you how easy it is to add a new group. So to group some more of these input fields, again, just by dragging this group into your GUI, then you can already now here give this group another name. And now, for example, if we just check this out and want to see how the appearance of our service is so far, then again, we can just click on save and do the test run. And now here we can see now our radio button list and also this new section, which we just named test. Okay, so let's remove this one again. And now we come to this section of application parameters. So here it starts with a list to select a different version. And besides the ID, which again is the name of this environment variable, which is named version here, you can also see the difference between label and value in this list. Because here the label is what is actually shown in the list, but the value is assigned to the environment variable. So for our star CCM job right now, I don't need a selection of the version. So I can just remove this list. But what I need instead is another text field with the possibility to enter my license key. So now I will just drag a new text field into that application parameters. Click on this and give the environment variable a better name. So here I will just name it the POD key. And as label, I will give power on demand license key. Now we can also check out this line for the file selection. So here we can see that it is actually the file selection for remote files, and that it has the environment variable name input file, and that the base is pointing already to the remote home directory. So the only thing what we need to do here now is that we have to change the filter so that it is applicable not for CFX input files, but for star CCM input files. So we will change this here to sim. We will also change this in the label. And now we are good to go. And just to show you also another possibility, so just in case that you don't have your input files for your simulation already on your remote machine, then you can also use one of these upload files, which are actually for uploading files which are located on your local machine. Okay, let's remove this. Then we also have another text input field for additional options for your application itself. So here we can see the ID, so the variable name options, and we can use this again later on in our job submission script. So the last section we can check out is the job parameters, so really the computing specific input parameters. So here we can see a selection of the allowed number of cores and a selection of the computing queue. So for the number of cores, we can see that this is a static list with these pre-populated values, which you now can change or edit upfront. But whereas the queue list, actually, it's not a static list, but this is rather a list of queues, which is then provided by the scheduler directly itself. And this one we can see also here in the list options. So here we can see that we can get a list of clusters, we can get a list of hosts, and we can also get a list of queues. So now we can see these lists down here, and these are actually then directly populated with the values from the scheduler itself. And now we come to the core of the configuration itself, the job submission script. And for editing this, we now click on the submit button. And here we can see all the different properties and also the scripts itself. So under action properties, we can leave the default values. And under action script, we need to make our changes to make this script applicable to our star CCM job submission. The action script is actually building the command for the job submission itself. So here for the first part, we can see that a link in the spooler section is created, so we can also leave that one. Now here we can see the different arguments for the job submission itself. And now here we just need to make sure that we also have all these environment variables set, which we can see here. So the only thing right now we have to change here is actually the variable for the solver. So right now here it is named CFX solver and pointing to the solver version which the user is supposed to select in the service. But as we are not using CFX and also we do not have any version selected by the user, so we need to make our changes here. So we will comment out this line and instead put there the path to our star CCM executable. Now we get to the job script, and here in the job script, actually the command for our application is built together. So here in the beginning, it is just entering the working directory. So this is stuff we can just leave as it is. And now we get to the section where the CFX solver is actually called and where the CFX specific options are given to the solver. So this is now the part what we need to change. So here we will just remove everything which is CFX solver specific. Also, this file action down here, it's also CFX solver specific, so we will also change that one. And now we can either really write down the command for calling *CCM and providing all these options and doing this within the script over here. Or what we can also do is actually just to call a submission script which you already have in place. So here you can either write down and edit the *CCM command itself, or you can just point to a shell script which has everything already in place. So here now I will enter actually the *CCM command itself. But I could also just point to a shell script where this is already incorporated. So now we do have all our scripts in place, and we can close that one. Now we can save our service and do the test run. Okay, so let's check it out now. So we have provided a default job name, which we can just leave as it is. So now here we have the possibility to provide a power on demand license key. We can select an *CCM input file. So let me do this. Here, actually, I also can see that the filtering option, which we edited, is also applying. So I get just shown folders and files which are named SIM. Okay, I don't give any additional options. I leave the number, of course, and I also leave the default queue. Now I can hit submit. And when the compute job starts, I'm directly taken to the spooler section. And here now I can see the status of my job, which is now running, and I can also check the standard output here. Okay, so now the last thing I want to show you here is actually the creation of a so-called file action service. But at first, now for our *CCM service, we can close this one. And now as the test run was successful, we can also publish the service and by that make it accessible for all users. Okay, so now we will create this file action service, and for that we will create a tecplot post-processing service. So now here we go to new, and now this time we will start from scratch, so create an empty batch service. And the only thing we need to have in place already is actually the tecplot installation again and the path to our tecplot executable. Okay, so now let's hit create. And now here we can start by editing again the title of our job. And we also need to add a section for the file selection actually. And here we will use the so-called remote file browsing selection. So we just drag this over here, and now the name of our environment variable here, we can just leave this one, and the label we will just change to file. And now here we also have the possibility to provide a filter. So we will enter the filter for tecplot files. Okay, and now we can already configure our script. So at first we go to action, And as this is right now not a service for actually submitting the job to our compute nodes, but rather than opening the application itself. So we can comment out this application submit and instead provide the path to our TechPlot executable. Now there are two more things that we just have to think about. So the one thing is that we want to apply, or that we want to open a specific file with our TechPlot application. So we need now to provide exactly this file to our TechPlot service. So our file, which we selected with a remote file browsing selection, is called RFB1. So now we will just take this one, and now we can see this variable directly here on top of this list. And this list actually is also a great feature of EnginFrame scripting. So this can make your life a lot easier, because as soon as you type the $, you are provided with a list of all environment variables which are already defined within your EnginFrame environment. And now the last thing we need to do is that we actually need to provide another variable which is called display. And this is just for making sure that the TechPlot GUI will open in our DCV session. Okay, so that is already our ready action script. For the job script, we don't need to provide any further information. And under configuration, we can also leave everything as it is. Okay, so now we can close this one over here. And now we have to make our service a file action service. And for that, we go to settings. And now here under file action, we can actually enable the file action. Okay, and that was it already. So we will now close, save our service, and now we will close it and also publish it to make it accessible to all users. And for testing this file action service, now we will go again to the users portal. And now here we can also see these two new services we just created. So our star CCM service with the GUI, which we just edited, and our TechPlot service. Okay, and now we will go to our files in our remote home directory. Now here we select our TechPlot post-processing file, and under actions I can now see our new created TechPlot file action service. And if I click on that, then our TechPlot application is actually launched in our remote Linux desktop session. And now here in our DCV remote desktop session, we can now start with our post-processing procedure. Okay, and that was it basically. So let's get back to the EnginFrame intro page, and let me sum up what I have shown to you today. So we created an interactive remote desktop session to which we connected via NICE DCV. And then we created a star CCM service for submitting our CFD compute jobs. And then we also created a file action service for TechPlot post-processing. So I hope you enjoyed the session, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us or just leave your questions in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, have fun, bye.